coming up on today's episode. I don't care if you're at the altar.
Okay.
Grab your husband or wife, run away, and go to the theater and watch this movie.
Wow.
Is there a decision that you can think of that you've made in your life that really bit you in the ass?
So, Ryan, I mean, oh my God.
I was in awe.
Because we've never seen anything like that
Yeah.
in any movie.
One of one.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
Hey everyone, I'm your host Ryan Vanderhei, and to my left is my co-host, the wonderful,
Wonderful.
the spectacular,
Oh, throwing it on.
Joe Parente.
Why did you stop there?
On today's episode of Beyond the Frame, we're talking about the 2025, I'll say it,
Okay.
because I don't have a problem,
Okay.
cinematic masterpiece,
Wow, look at that.
Sinners. And the theme we're going to explore is what you allow in is ultimately up to you.
Quite true.
There will be spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, come back, and listen to the episode. PSA here. Everybody needs to go see this.
That's a PSA.
I don't care where you are. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're at the altar.
Okay.
Grab your husband or wife, run away, and go to the theater and watch this movie.
Wow.
I don't care if you're in labor. Suck the baby back into the birth canal and go to the theater.
It's quite a visual.
And watch this movie. If you're in graduation, run off the stage and leave the diploma.
Because this is more important.
This is more important. You have to see this movie. Everyone does.
Wow.
On the biggest screen humanly possible. See it in a planetarium if you have to.
My goodness.
The best. Can you tell I'm excited?
No,
about
did you
this
like
movie?
it though?
Not sure if I enjoyed this one.
Oh my God.
Yeah, if you can't tell, I saw it last night, 9:45, which, by the way, I haven't been to a movie that late in so long, but it's opening night. One of my favorite things to do is go to a movie opening night, especially in LA, because everybody really shows up for movies in LA.
Totally true. Totally true.
And the theater was packed. I'm talking all the way to the front, not a seat empty. Everybody's hollering, clapping, laughing. It was
fun.
fantastic.
That's what you go to a movie for, right?
It was a great time. This is I saw somebody describe it as like a sophisticated popcorn movie.
Mm.
You know, like it's a movie
Yeah.
that gets people in the theaters active and jumping and like into it, but it's also really damn good.
Yeah.
So
Also
that's
sounds really good.
Oh, we'll get
You'll
into
get
that.
to that. Yeah.
It that's hard to do.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I believe that.
It's really hard to make a high budget blockbuster film that's still grounded, that still has its roots, that still feels authentic, genuine. It's almost like an indie film. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It still has heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get to those big budget, green screen, $400 million, and I don't want to harp on this shit because everyone does, but it can just feel a little bit distant. Is that a good word to use?
Mm-hmm.
Distant.
Mm-hmm.
This feels so grounded. And it's a vampire movie.
Yes and no.
How surprised was I?
It's a movie that has vampires in it.
Yeah, I love that you said that. It's not a vampire film.
Right. And
It's a movie
not.
that just so happens to have vampires in it. There
In
are
the
characters in it.
in the last quarter of the movie.
The last half, we'll say,
Yeah.
of the film. So I just was so in love with how original, how it's just a master craft. It uses the format so well. I mean, God, I could just talk about this movie for hours. I mean, I can't stop buzzing about it ever since I saw it last night.
Yeah, I can completely understand why you are buzzing about it.
How did you feel about it? Because I've been ranting over here.
It was visually the most beautiful movie I've seen in a very long time. Even when it comes down to I don't know if it was Smoke or Stack, driving along with their cousin, the guitar player. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name.
Sammy.
Sammy, thank you. just how they were in focus and the background was blurred and it just all looked beautiful. It sounded fantastic. I
Yeah.
loved the soundtrack to it. There are times I wanted to, makes you want to get up and dance.
Yeah.
The cinematography I thought was fantastic.
Out of this world.
I loved all the clothes. The costumes were great. So it sounded great. It looked great. And yeah, it did have a pulse, you
Yeah.
could say. And I did think about the film that we saw not too long ago with the same actor playing two leading parts. And I thought, man, this couldn't be more different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this one, the two of them, Michael B. Jordan pulled it off.
Absolutely, he
It
did.
worked.
And I think the characters were enough their own that there was a lot of separation. That even though it was the same actor,
Yes.
they were playing twins, obviously, which is like that makes sense
Yes.
for an actor to play the same people. So you're already a level above. But then also the characters had so much difference
They
between
did.
the two of them, which a lot. When we're talking about that other movie, a lot of times when they were on the
Exactly.
scenes together, it was like, I don't know who's who really.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same guy.
Yeah.
So this, to your point, yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Michael B. Jordan pulled it off. He's got some serious acting chops. That guy.
Oh my God.
He was brilliant.
So
Both,
good.
Both parts.
And I think Ryan Coogler likes working with him.
I think so. That might be an actor he
it might-
enjoys
it might be.
collaborating
Yeah.
with. Yeah.
It just might be.
Speaking of Ryan Coogler, we got to talk about this guy for a second.
Yeah, he had a little bit to do with this movie.
He had just a small part in
Just-
making this movie come
Just writing it,
to
directing
life.
it.
Writing and directing it. Yeah.
That's all.
I can say it. He's still young, which is bizarre to think, because he's been around for a bit. He got his start at 25. Graduated film school 24, and then made Fruit of All Station
Which
25.
Amazing. And then
yeah.
and I went to a screening of Creed and saw him interviewed. So articulate, so
Oh,
bright,
yeah.
so likable. I thought I wasn't even doing acting yet. I thought I'd love to work with him.
Yeah. Just any excuse to get. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's mastered the craft of filmmaking. He has such a grasp and an understanding of the format and of the elements that goes into creating a really immersive experience. And you could see it come to life in all of his films, but we're talking about Sinners here, where the visuals, the sound, Ludwig Göransson did the score. Unbelievable.
Yeah. He was a classmate of his at USC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's become one of my favorite composers. He just won his Oscar for Oppenheimer.
Oh, right. That's right.
That was him. Black Panther was him. So he's collaborated with Coogler
Wow.
before. But I just think that he's perfected the craft, Mr. Ryan Coogler. And
He's
it's
damn
his
good
world
at
and
it.
we're all just living in it.
I love that.
He's now become there's a very short list of directors where you say the name, I don't have to know anything about the movie. I don't need to know who's in it. I don't need to know the subject, the setting, the runtime, the genre. I don't care. There's a very short list of directors that qualify for I'll go see it. I don't care. He's one of them.
He seems to get really good performances out of his actors as well.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I love that he and Michael B. Jordan kind of have this bond too, because I think Fruit of All was Michael B. Jordan's first leading role.
Oh, okay.
So that's first feature film, first leading role. You know, they've kind of created a really unique collaborative experience between the two of them. And please make more.
Yeah, no
I-
doubt.
I'll-
I think they will.
I'll be seated for the next one.
Yeah.
Trust me, you got my
Yeah.
ticket. I would love to be there. And before we get into the film,
Yeah.
a little bit deeper in our theme here, I got to talk about that one scene. And you know what scene I'm talking about.
Well, I can't read your mind, but once you get started, I'll probably.
And I'm going
Get
to
it.
tiptoe it because I really don't want to spoil it for anybody, because I think the experience of being in the theater and feeling it and seeing it and being a part of it and witnessing it was so extraordinary that I don't want to rob anybody of that. So there's a scene that takes place about halfway through the film when they're in the juke joint and music's being played and
that scene.
yeah,
And-
you know,
Well,
I don't want to say too much. I don't know what I can say and not say. I want to give praise and I want to encourage people to go see this movie because this scene, I have to go see it again just to feel it.
I understand what scene you mean now. And can't we say it? Because, I mean, we've already warned people that, well, the first PSA was to go see it, drop everything, clearly. But the second is there will be spoilers here, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about the scene where musicians from different times and different places were there playing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
And dancers.
Mm-hmm.
And that scene was extraordinary. And I would go see it again for that scene also.
I would go just for that scene alone. I mean,
I couldn't, I was trying to think, how as a filmmaker do you, A, try to describe that? Like, what does that look like on the script?
Yeah.
And then B, trying to shoot that in a way that the music is coordinated, the acting and the dancing, everything is coordinated. I thought if I had to figure that out logistically, my head would explode. And yet it came across so smoothly, and it was making such a fascinating point. Again, a spoiler, but that music can lift the veil that separates, the different dimensions and, if you will, in different times.
it's a time machine.
It's a time machine.
It can transport you back.
Right.
Films can do that.
Project. It can
Or
bring
into the future.
from the past and from the future to the present.
And that's what this scene beautifully illustrated. And it did it in such a way that was just perfection. I mean, I couldn't. It was one of those moments, and I haven't had it in a while in a theater where I was in awe.
Because we've never seen anything like that
Yeah.
in any movie.
One of one.
That was one of one.
That was one of one. Yeah, that's the vision of Ryan Coogler. And to your point, several times throughout the film, and I'm gonna butcher the actual format, the aspect ratio, but he shot this on IMAX film cameras, and there were a couple of times in the film, that being one of them, where we expand the format, where we're at the widescreen, and then we expand the format to see the entire screen. That's one of the times, and that was it created such a feeling, like it happened, and then I just knew, and it happened later when they actually invite the vampires in, which we'll talk about, and something similar happened where the screen expands to give way to this richness, this vast beauty of imagery that really transports you. I mean, I got to go see it again. I will. I 100% will, just for that scene alone, to feel that again, because it was just so well done.
It was beautifully done.
This is going to be studied.
Oh, for sure. Do you know someone who helped him with that filming? Because this was on film. This guy named Christopher Nolan.
Oh, yeah, I heard this. Yeah. Because he's got a lot of experience shooting on
He sure does.
70 millimeter
Exactly.
IMAX.
Exactly.
I can't gush over that enough. I don't want to spend the entire podcast talking about that one scene, even though I could.
Yeah.
But this movie
for sure.
does so much, and it says so much. So, Sinners is about twin brothers called Smoke and Stack coming back to their hometown in the deep south of Mississippi to open up a juke joint with the money they have received from working for Capone's outfit in Chicago. The only issue is the music is so damn good that this juke joint, that it can conjure up spirits from a different realm.
Mm-hmm.
Those spirits being vampires. This film was written and directed by Ryan Coogler, who is the mind behind Black Panther and Creed, and it stars way too many heavy-hitting actors to name them all.
Kidding.
But at the top of the bill, you've got Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, and Miles Caton. The first thing that I want to discuss about this film, Joe, is sin.
Okay.
Right? Isn't that a good place to start? It's fair
Sure.
to say that the movie called Sinners would explore this idea a little bit. And I think it's extremely relevant to our theme that we're talking about here, about what you let in is ultimately up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So early on in our film, our beloved Sammy, played by Miles Caton, also known as Preacher Boy,
Mm-hmm.
because he is the son of
Son of the Preacher Man.
the Preacher Man. He gets done working on the cotton plantation and goes to find his guitar, but it's missing. And then he goes into the little church where his dad is, and his dad has taken his guitar and set it in there. Sammy picks it up, says he needs to go play tonight, and his father quite handily reminds him who he's playing for. Right? It's not just a couple of kids in a field. He's not just playing in his bedroom. He's playing for people who, according to his father, have no control over their inhibitions. They drink, they dance.
My kind of people.
They engage. People with a little edge to them. People with a little bit of fun.
I like it. I like it.
They engage in promiscuous activity.
Yeah.
And you could tell that the father feels a little bit protective.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
He doesn't want his son to fall victim to the same mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you hang around these people long enough, you might become one of them kind of thing, that sort of mentality. But at the end of the day, Joe,
yeah,
we all have a choice, don't we? I mean, most of us have access to these things daily. Drugs, alcohol, sex. Yet it seems to reach or grasp each of us a little bit differently.
Yes. True.
We're all our own person, sure. But is that really what it comes down to? Is the fact that I can have a couple of beers and just resume and go about my life, but someone else, someone the same age, the same demographic, can drink the same couple of beers and then it's 3 and then 4 and then 5 and then 6 and then they spiral into becoming an alcoholic who can't function in daily life without it? Does that really just come down to a difference in who we are?
Well, I mean, is that a rhetorical question? Should I ask first of all?
It's rhetorical and it's a little bit serious.
Because I had a friend passed away years ago. He didn't have, he really didn't have addiction stuff so much, but 2 of his siblings do, 2 of his cousins do, and it happens in that family quite a bit. And I don't know that is conscious choices they're making. I think that one day we're going to understand addiction a little bit better than we do right now, because I don't know that it's just a matter of I love sin and I want to dive into the deep end right away.
Sure.
One of those people I'm talking about, I've become really good friends with again. We reconnected recently, and I'm so thankful I don't have that monkey on my back.
100%. You and me both, brother.
But he cannot understand somebody having a couple drinks. That makes no sense to him.
Yeah.
He can't understand that.
Yeah.
If you have a couple, you have 15. And if you're going to have that many drinks, well, you might as well have some blow to go with it. And it's not really going to be that much fun if you don't have a little bit of weed to bring you down. And it doesn't stop.
Once that snowball gets rolling.
And so I feel fortunate because I don't have that addiction monkey on my back. So, for me, I feel like it's a level of how much do I indulge? How much do I choose to? What do I have to do tomorrow? How much,
Sure.
And I feel like I've never felt out of control with that.
Yeah.
You?
It's so, like, when you're talking about this, it's bringing up really important points. And I think we do know so little still about not only the human brain, but about addiction. Because it is very complex and it's very interesting when you start to really uncover, like, why exactly what you just said. Why do some people have the monkey and some don't? Where is that coming from? Where is that happening?
Yeah.
What area of the brain? What neuron is firing? That's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so fascinating that, listen, at the end of the day, it comes down to decisions that you make, right? And so
It does.
for some people, those decisions are easier to make than others. So it might be easy for me to have a couple of beers and say, I'm good. It's good for me. It's fairly easy for me to say. For someone else,
me too.
like your friend, extremely difficult. I have friends,
Yeah.
I have family who That's not an option. Okay, it's not an option to have 1 or 2 beers. What's the point? Okay,
Right.
if I'm going to drink,
What's the point? I'm going to drink.
drinking,
Right.
you know? So it's very interesting to me. It's very fascinating.
And we're also, you and I are talking about substances that don't have deep hooks like crack or heroin.
Yeah.
Because that's a physiological addiction, and yet,
Totally different.
It's totally different.
Yeah, that's...
Because you're talking about basically kind of the things that are happening that we see in this film.
Exactly. I'm talking about just specifically as it relates to sinners. As the father is here in this scene telling the son, yeah, you're around all these people who are kind of loosey-goosey with it.
And it depends on A, how you define sin, and B, if you believe that sinning is like bad.
Okay, so if it carries a negative connotation to it at all.
Correct.
I think most things are okay in moderation.
Yeah.
It's the overindulgence. What's the movie? It's coming to 7.
Okay.
We talked about, and that episode was about the overindulgence in sin. That's what Kevin Spacey's character was trying to bring to the surface and show people.
That's right.
In a homicidal maniac way.
Mm-hmm.
But that we've lost touch. We've allowed our... I don't want to... It's not right to say selfishness. That's not the right word. The word that I'm looking for is more... Ignorance sounds too negative as well. But you know what I mean? Like we've gotten so lost in the day-to-day, the grind, you do what you got to do. You get up, you go to work, you come home. Like we've gotten so lost in our ego, we'll call it, that we tend to overindulge in these things. And that's what that movie was pointing out. This movie is totally different, where it's just, I think this movie's about choices. This movie's about the choices that we make. This movie's about what we ourselves allow in. We make the decision to do or not to do. It is our choice. That's what Sinners is really about.
True. And this movie shows, too, you still have a choice even if you're being seduced. You might not feel like you have a choice, but you do.
It's ultimately up to you. That's what I gathered from this film. That's what I took away, and that's why I wanted to frame this the way that I did, is that I really watched it and came away with, again, Ryan Coogler shouts out. He was able to keep it so grounded where I didn't. I've seen a lot of movies with vampires. I've seen a lot of movies with a horror lean, and I haven't left feeling the way I felt when I left the theater watching this. It didn't feel like I just watched a horror film about vampires.
Well, I don't feel like you did. I went in completely... I didn't know anything about this movie before I saw it this morning. So I didn't know there was going to be vampires. I didn't know what these things were until they were identified as vampires. I'm like, oh, that's what they are.
Oh, that's great.
I didn't know that.
Sometimes that's nice to go into a movie with nothing.
For sure, because I didn't know it was like a quote-unquote horror movie, and I didn't leave feeling that I'd seen a horror movie.
Me either.
Yeah. Again, a movie with vampires.
I want to come back here to this idea of letting something in. I want to ask you a question.
Sure. I might answer.
It's a little bit, there's a lot of depth to it. But is there a decision you can think of that you've made in your life that was completely up to you, that you made, that really bit you in the ass?
So, Brian, I mean, oh my God.
I don't mean to go there, but I'm just, I really want to try to uncover and unravel an understanding of this.
Quite a, many flashes of scenes of sin running through my head.
Yeah.
I've made so many tremendously bad decisions in my life, Ryan. Fortunately, none of them has led to anyone's serious injury or death.
Sure.
Hurt feelings and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Oh, physical property damaged. Absolutely. I I mean, I could give you such a laundry list. But I think you're looking for something specific here.
Yeah, and I can give you mine if you want time to think. But if you've got something ready, I'm all ears.
I have too many. So why don't you go for it?
Mine's more. It's an umbrella. I'm more looking at from a larger perspective. I'm not singling out one specific decision, but certain people I have invited and allowed into my life that I should not have.
Okay.
I think that that's a mistake I have made in my past.
Okay.
That was completely my own doing. I welcomed and invited these people in, allowed them maybe to linger a little bit longer than they should have. You know, I've got a pretty good radar now.
Okay.
At 30 of what the kinds of people I want to spend time with, who I want to allow as close or as far. You know what I mean? Like, I've got a pretty good gauge and radar, but it took me this long to get there because in my teens, my early 20s, mid 20s, I let a lot of people in further than they probably should have gone and let them stay longer than they should have. And I don't know if that's because I didn't have the backbone to remove them, or I didn't know how to go about it, but those are decisions that I've made that have really cost me a lot.
So I'm gathering these people were, shall we just say, bad influences, or
exactly 100%.
Okay.
These people were bad for me, caused stress, whatever it is, bringing pain that didn't need to be there. And it was all my own doing. It was all my own decision of.
And in the end, because you're still here, and again, no great bodily harm, they were great teachers, you could say, for you.
And I'm lucky that I'm able to have that experience.
Yeah.
Because some people don't.
Yeah, true.
Some people let somebody bad into their life, and it.
Yeah.
It ends their life.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone else that they know. So I'm lucky that mine were, let's just say, mild, maybe more on the scale, but nonetheless had a profound impact on me. And I think I've always kept the sentiment, not always. Why do I say always? Like I've just since birth, no. I learned that I have to give myself grace with the decisions that I've made. Like, I don't beat myself up.
That's very healthy.
Yeah, I'm such an idiot. I let this person in. How could I have done that? Blah, blah. I don't focus on how wrong I was or the failures or the shortcomings. I focus on what can I learn.
Well, exactly, because those are showing you something.
Yeah.
So there's huge value in that.
So even though I went through the pain, even though it caused me some stress, I was able to learn from that experience, and I was able to take that and apply it to the next person that I met that was like them, or whatever. And I was able to strengthen that radar.
The radar, you have a better eye, better radar.
Exactly.
And it helps you know more of what you want in your life. This I had, this doesn't work. I want more of this. I think that's fantastic. That's hopefully growing smarter, wiser, better stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of ERs there.
Right, exactly.
That's important. And because I do know people have had a hard time breaking out of those kinds of dynamics. Mm-hmm. And I've wondered, actually I don't wonder, when people say they want to do something and they don't, and they keep saying it and they keep not doing it or doing it, whatever it is, whatever the case is, I do my best not to interfere or offer up any opinions because that doesn't help. But if someone ever asks, I will say to them, 51% of you doesn't want to do that.
You got to get to that 51.
Yeah. You've just got to have, and you got to be straight with yourself. You don't have to be, but it'll help to be straight or honest with yourself that actually most of you wants to keep doing whatever it is, or doesn't want to take the steps to stop doing something. And
otherwise
that's where I think people play with themselves. The fact that you identified these particular people, but also traits or what have you, whatever they brought to the table, it's good that you were straight with yourself about what you want and what you don't want. Maybe that was obvious because things were falling apart.
Sure.
I don't know, but But I think that I think is the key. And part of what would make, that joint so much fun from this movie that I would want to go to is people are like, I've been working really hard. I want to spend my money here. I want to hear some music. I want to dance. I want to drink. I want to have a great freaking time. I was like, where is it? Sign me up. I want to go.
It looked like a good time for a while there.
Great time. For a while.
For a while.
And then there will be blood.
Yeah.
But
so what about you? Is there a specific decision you've made or something that you've consciously entered into and it's later bit you in the ass?
Okay, I'll come up with one that's not, it's fairly innocuous, and this person is so far removed from my life now, decades. But it was someone that I was a partner of mine, and I kind of latched onto her and her life. This is from a long time ago.
Okay.
Because from my perspective, she really had her stuff together. We went to undergrad together. And she was going places. And I thought, I don't know what to do with my life. So I almost consciously just hooked onto her.
Okay, yeah.
And that did not go well. And it took me, I was in that relationship for 5 years. And it was like by year, not even the end of the first year, I thought, this is not good for me. But I stayed in it, and I had to learn some really tough lessons by staying in that.
Thankfully, they were lessons.
But there were some really tough ones, and she alienated me from friends and family. At least she tried.
Yeah, been there.
Oh, and that's
been in one of those.
And see, we both learned we'll never allow that to happen again.
100%.
Nor would I do that to a partner of mine. Like, you can't see someone or stay away from what?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
No,
that's insane.
No, that is insane.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly controlling and manipulative. And I kind of had that pattern a little bit. So it took me some time to see it. It's like, oh, I actually have done that before. Oh, geez.
How long do you think it took for you to realize that?
About 40. No, it took me a while.
Like, when could you, because it takes time. When could you look back and realize hindsight was 20/20? When could you look back and see that, oh, I see what I did there?
Well, I knew it while I was doing it.
Interesting. Okay.
But I still did it.
The blinders were on.
I had that little self-esteem. I had that little belief in myself that I could make things happen.
Even though you felt that way, you had to.
Yep.
You felt you were in a position where you had to latch on.
It was, God, one of the things that really opened my eyes, though, was I saw one of my old English professors at Whole Foods in Palo Alto years later. And he'd been incredibly encouraging of my writing. And we saw each other, and he, we both recognized, I still know Dr. Simon, and he recognized me, and we're talking for a minute. He goes, so what are you doing now? And I said, well, I paint houses. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I paint houses. Well, you going to graduate school or anything like that? I'm like, nah, no. He's like, well, do you have any plans for that? I was like, well, I was living in London with my girlfriend, was going to London School of Economics. She got her master's there. He's like, well, good for her. What are you doing?
Oh, yes. Hey, you needed to hear it, though.
It just hurt.
It hurt, but you needed to hear it.
Yep, it did. And he wasn't like thinking, good for you. You got a manual labor job because that's all you can handle. It was very much like, wait, what?
All this potential.
Yeah. So he was someone who kind of helped
the catalyst
a bit. One of many. I needed a lot. I needed a lot of
Nothing wrong with that. So I think this is a good chance for us to take a good old bad guy break.
Oh, let's do that.
So in the theme we're talking about here, a little overindulgence or allowing things in, it's your choice. You're going to like this one. I mean, you could see it already.
Yeah, it's great.
The year that this film came out, 1995. The genre, dark romance. I like that. I like dark romance. Sounds enticing. Boy, it wasn't. The setting, 1990s Las Vegas, and the actor who plays this character is Mr. Nicolas Cage. quite possibly one of the most depressing movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yes. I had a falling out with a friend over this movie.
What? What do you mean? Tell me about that.
So we were driving home from work back up to San Francisco. We both worked for the same company in Silicon Valley, and was with his soon-to-be wife too, who's she was a law student at the time, and we were talking about leaving Las Vegas, and I said, it's a remarkable film with a single focus of watching a man drink himself to death. And he's like, oh, you told me the end of the movie. I was like, but to me it was like, doesn't everyone know that this guy, that's what happens with this guy?
You ruined the ending for him?
Yeah. He was so angry with me.
I guess there was part of me as I was watching that was hopeful that he wasn't going to drink himself to death. Like at some point he was going to, but that's the point of the movie, right? That is that he doesn't, he never does. And it's like depressing as hell.
You got to give, talk about determination. I mean, because Elizabeth Shue could have pulled, we were hoping
there was a spark of hope.
That there was this, he was going to fall in love with her. He had this good thing going on that was going to pull him out of it. But no,
didn't happen.
Amazing singular focus.
So we're talking about Mr. Ben Sanderson in Leaving Las Vegas. Ben plays a self-destructive alcoholic who gives up and goes to Las Vegas to drink himself to death, as Joe said. He has no control over his inhibitions, and he fully gives in to his sickness, giving up on life and throwing in the towel. What Ben let in was ultimately his decision and his alone. What happens to him is a direct result of the choices that he has made.
I think he would agree with you.
I think he would too, and Nicolas Cage is fantastic in that.
He sure is. Wow.
So let's talk about our vampires, shall we? I mean, that's the fun part of this, huh? That's what everybody wants to hear. At like the halfway point or whatever it is, where we're introduced.
We're deeply into the film.
We're deeply into the film by the time we get to see them in their true form. But I was really fascinated by how they are only allowed into the juke joint if you invite them in. You have to invite them in. They cannot walk in. All you've got to do is say, come in, and then they can come in. That's it. That's all it takes. And I was so enamored by this. I found it so fascinating, and it's absolutely pivotal and central to this theme here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a metaphor or a direct representation. I mean, whatever you want to take it as. But this trio of white vampires first approaches the juke joint and says that they heard the music and they're musicians and they just want to join in. They just want to come in and join the fun.
That's such a great scene.
Oh, it's so good. Jack O'Connor.
Man, can he sing? Is that him?
I know which scene you're talking about. Yeah,
man.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
God, was he good?
So they just want to join in. They want to join in the fun, and they're turned away at the door. Why? Well, couple of reasons. Everyone's a little bit skeptical about these three causing trouble because this film takes place just after World War I. It's in the Deep South. Mm-hmm. This is the time where the Klan was around and was very active.
Yep.
So, everybody's a little bit on edge.
Yep.
Okay. A couple of white people come into our, this is a black joint. We're all in here having fun, having a good time. They even say, one of the characters, I forget who it is, says, it's all good until one of them, you look at them too long.
Right.
You spill a beer on them.
Right.
Next thing you know, we're in some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
So, sure, they seem harmless, but you're inviting in the possibility.
That's right.
Of a problem.
Yes.
So we fast forward to later on when all hell is broken loose and everyone knows that they're vampires. Everyone comes to that conclusion. And they can only come in if you invite them in. They would literally stand outside at the threshold of the door and just wait and just try to convince you, try to seduce you into allowing them in. I love the woman who was like the shop owner and her husband.
Yep.
And he's out there a vampire.
Yeah.
And
Trying to
he's
get her to come out.
He's trying to convince her, oh, I got the car warmed up. Like,
Yeah,
come on.
let's go.
And obviously she's distraught. I mean, she's trying to come to
Yeah.
terms with the fact that her husband's now a vampire.
Right.
And then she can't just go out there with him. You know what I mean? But I thought this was so fascinating. Stay with me here.
Okay.
Because we're going to get deep.
I won't walk away, I swear.
You're not going to get up.
Okay.
Just walk out. I'm going to attempt to get very layered and very analytical here. Okay.
All right.
So remember our theme. What you allow and is ultimately up
Sure.
to you. You have to invite the vampires in order to be infected. Just like you have to be open and receptive and invite in racism in order to be infected by it. It spreads the same way that the vampires do.
Okay. I have thoughts.
I have thoughts back.
We weren't raised in the South, fortunately.
Yes.
And you and I have spoken about prejudice and that it's a learned behavior. I think you can
Racism is taught, yeah.
Right. And so you can be learning it as a child and you are letting you're letting it in, but you don't have the savvy to know what you're letting in.
100%. 100%. And that's what I'll get to my second point.
Please.
Here. That the other aspect of a vampire is that they prey on the weak. Right? They find a weak, like when Mary comes outside, Mary played by Haley Steinfeld, comes outside to check him out, to feel him out. And she says, and they say like, oh, we feel something. Like you're going through something. Your sadness. And it's her, we know her mother just passed away. So she's grieving. She's dealing with that. And so she's a target. Like this is a layer deeper here.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. Go for it.
So they can sense that she's easier to manipulate. She's a target. She's weaker. She's in a weakened state, we'll say, at this point in time, right? And I don't know if you know, or you remember, but Mary gets up and she says, I don't know the exact wording, but something along the lines of, I may be hurting, but I don't need saving. Right? She's strong.
That.
Like she knows, like, I can take care of myself, basically. And this is when we cut away and we know that they've, done their deed to her. But let's come back to the point of them preying on the weak. Why? Because when people are weak, they're more desperate and they're an easier target. Racism works in the same way. It thrives on people who are weak and desperate. People who have a severe lack of emotional intelligence, a severe lack of a sense of right and wrong, people who are backed into a corner and feel like they're in danger. We know racism is taught. It's not innate. Children play with anyone. Play with a kid. Doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, skin, doesn't matter. But children are also very impressionable, like you said.
Absolutely.
And if their parents show them or teach them to think a certain way, there's a good chance it's going to penetrate and become a part of their worldview. So I'll reiterate our theme here. What you allow in is ultimately up to you. Because what happens in the end of the film, the Klan members only sold Smoke and his brother the sawmill so they could come back and take their money. It was all a ruse. Sure, yeah, here you go. Yeah, it's all yours now. Full well they had a plan to come back deep, by the way, rolling deep. There was like 30 of them to use a show of force and take back the sawmill and keep their money. That was their intention the entire time. And it was the vampires that told them that. I don't know if you remember
it was. Oh, I do remember that.
So, and Michael B. Jordan has to, use those war skills that he...
and boy, did he.
And boy, did he. In a gruesome exchange, gives them a little taste of their own medicine.
Sure did.
And I loved it.
Yeah, he took them out.
He took them all out.
Yeah, he did.
And what a beautiful ending, too, by the way.
Yeah.
Again, spoilers, but, you're screwed at this point. I've telling you the whole movie. What a beautiful moment there at the end after they're on the ground. They both
You mean
been
when
shot.
he's in both worlds?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's kind of seeing his partner, who is on the other side, if you will,
With the child that had passed away.
with the child that they had lost.
Yeah.
Man, again, this movie just had heart.
Yeah.
We could learn these really valuable life lessons. It shows us something about. It reveals to us something about humanity, about love, loss, about inhibitions,
Mm-hmm.
about the choices that we make. Because what does our boy Sammy do in the end? He doesn't stay at the church.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't
goes
stay
on
at the
to Chicago.
congregation.
Yeah.
He takes that guitar
Yeah.
and he heads up
Yeah.
north to Chicago to fulfill his dreams,
Yeah.
to do what he always wanted to do, to be a musician with a fantastic voice, by the way.
Yeah, no doubt.
Just beautiful.
All of what you just said in a beautiful looking, sounding, feeling film.
Oh, just to wrap it all up, just to bundle it all together in one little nice little tight knit package with a little bow on it.
Totally.
That's what this was.
Yeah.
I mean,
for
this
sure.
is my favorite movie of the year, without question.
Wow.
And it's so funny that the last two movies that have really stuck out to me that I've seen as like the best movies I've seen in theaters are this and Nosferatu. They're both horror
Right.
films. Like, how funny is that?
Both vampire.
Both
movies.
vampire horror films. So maybe they're onto something there.
Mm.
There's something that those two guys are onto.
I dig it.
But let's give these people some recommendations,
Yeah,
shall
let's
we?
do it.
And then let's get out of here, huh? Okay. So if you want to watch movies that explore the theme of your choices that you make and letting things in, here's 5 you can stream right now. For a film about a young girl's false accusation and how it sets off a chain of irreversible consequences,
Oh.
watch Atonement. That's available on Amazon. We're going to do an episode on that. I can
Yep.
promise it
Yep.
to you.
For sure.
For a film about one man's fateful decision that leads to grief and isolation, check out Manchester by the Sea,
Wow.
available on Amazon.
That's a good one too.
For a film about addiction and the choices we make to allow these addictions to take over, check out Requiem for a Dream. That one's come up on recommendations a few times.
Yes, and just an intensity warning on that one.
Yeah, that's a bit of a bite. You might have to prepare yourself for that.
Yeah,
it's a
amazing.
tough watch.
It is a
at
tough
times.
watch.
For a film about how a man's decision to take a satchel of cash ignites a deadly pursuit, check out No Country for Old Men and our episode.
And our
on it.
episode on that.
That's available
What a
on Paramount
great
Plus.
film.
And for a film about a private investigator making morally complex choices, check out Gone Baby Gone, available on Prime.
All good.
So what did we learn from watching Sinners, Joe?
Tell us, Ryan.
That you really got to be careful when playing good music because there's a high chance you can conjure up something deadly from a different realm. I mean, you got to be careful, man. You hear somebody
no
belting out
doubt.
a song,
Yeah.
pipe that down, all right? I don't want to
I
be
love it.
fighting off demons here.
I love it.
But what it also teaches us is that a majority of what happens to us in our life is ultimately up to us. What we choose to allow in is exactly that, our choice. We should be careful when we consider what we let in because you never know the kind of impact it can have. Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, as always, you're the main character in your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back and take a look at the bigger picture. Because sometimes the answers that you've been looking for are lying just beyond the frame. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.